The world watches in horror as the Gaza Strip faces yet another humanitarian crisis. A recent surge in conflict has devastated the region, leaving countless families displaced and desperate. The scale of destruction is immense, with homes, hospitals, and vital infrastructure reduced to rubble. The situation is especially dire for children and the elderly, who are the most vulnerable in times of conflict. The international community must act swiftly and decisively to alleviate the suffering of the Palestinian people. Humanitarian aid is urgently needed, but access remains a significant challenge. The resilience of the human spirit is truly remarkable, even in the face of such adversity. We must not allow this crisis to fade from the headlines. The world is watching, and we must demand better for the people of Gaza. The recent conflict has displaced hundreds of thousands of Palestinians, forcing them to seek refuge in overcrowded UN shelters. These shelters, already stretched thin before the recent escalation, are now struggling to cope with the influx of new arrivals. Families are crammed into small, unsanitary spaces with limited access to basic necessities like clean water and sanitation. The psychological toll of displacement, especially on children, is immeasurable. Many have lost loved ones, homes and livelihoods, leaving them with nothing but the clothes on their backs. The situation is a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict and the urgent need for a peaceful resolution. Amidst the chaos and despair, UN humanitarian workers are working tirelessly to provide aid to those in need. These courageous individuals are risking their own safety to deliver life-saving assistance, including food, water, and medical supplies. Their efforts are a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity and the importance of international cooperation in times of crisis. However, they are facing immense challenges. Access to conflict zones is often restricted, and funding for humanitarian aid remains woefully inadequate. Despite these obstacles, UN humanitarians remain committed to alleviating suffering and providing hope to those who have lost everything. Section 4. Food insecurity, a growing concern. One of the most pressing issues facing displaced Gazans is food insecurity. With their livelihoods destroyed and access to markets disrupted, many families are struggling to feed themselves. The UN World Food Programme is working around the clock to provide emergency food assistance, but the needs are overwhelming. Malnutrition rates are soaring, particularly among children who are most susceptible to the long-term effects of hunger. Without a sustained humanitarian response, the situation is likely to deteriorate further, leading to a full-blown humanitarian catastrophe. Section 5. The shelter crisis, a looming threat. While food remains a critical need, the lack of adequate shelter poses an equally dire threat. The destruction of homes has left families exposed to the elements with limited protection from the scorching sun or the cold desert nights. Overcrowding in shelters increases the risk of disease outbreaks, further compounding the already dire humanitarian situation. The international community must prioritize the provision of shelter materials and support the construction of temporary housing. Failure to address this urgent need will have devastating consequences for the health and well-being of displaced Gazans, particularly the most vulnerable. Section 6. A call to action. The world cannot stand idle. The crisis in Gaza is a stark reminder of our shared humanity and the urgent need for peace. The international community must not stand idly by while innocent civilians bear the brunt of conflict. We must demand an immediate ceasefire and a renewed commitment to a peaceful resolution. In the meantime, we must step up our support for humanitarian organizations working on the ground in Gaza. Increased funding, unimpeded access, and a global outcry against the violence are all essential to alleviating the suffering of the Palestinian people. The world is watching. Let us not turn a blind eye to this humanitarian catastrophe. The time for action is now.